Hello and welcome to Laverne Heights Presbyterian Church Online. We are an intergenerational family of faith who are following Jesus, growing together, and sharing God's love with neighbors near and far. Come join us for Sunday school as we reconnect with Saul in the city of Damascus. Hello everybody and welcome back to Damascus. Last week we traveled with Saul from Jerusalem to Damascus, and he was coming here for one reason and one reason only, and that was to hunt down any of the Jews who had now started believing in Jesus and to arrest them and bind them and take them back to be judged in Jerusalem. But on the way to Damascus, Jesus introduced himself to Saul with a blinding light. And for 3 days, Saul could not see. Well, he could not see with his eyes, but suddenly he now could see with his heart and with his soul. And so now he started meeting with the Christians. The very people he came to arrest were now his best friends. And as they met and they talked in the Christian church, he learned more and more about how Jesus fit in with all this incredible knowledge he already had about the Jewish scriptures. Not only that, but Saul was a pretty brave, courageous guy because he started visiting the synagogues where the people thought, oh, he's showing up to look for some Christians here to arrest. But instead, he showed up at the synagogue and he started preaching about how Jesus truly was the Son of God. So you can imagine the Jewish folks were very confused and not so happy. The Lord reminded Saul that his main job in his life as a believer would be for him to take the news of Jesus being the Son of God, not necessarily to the Jews, but especially to the Gentiles. And so, Saul, left Damascus, and he traveled down to Arabia, where the Bible tells us he spent 3 years in deep study of all the Jewish literature and scrolls and the Jewish Bible. Because it was one thing to talk to Jewish people who already believed in the one true God and tell them that Jesus was connected to that one true God. But what would it take? What would he need to know in order to go to people who didn't even know that God existed, that there even was one true God? So for these 3 years, he studied, he prayed, and later, Paul tells us himself that the Lord was with him and taught him during all those 3 years. When Saul returned to Damascus after his 3 years of study and prayer, he was stronger than ever. And when he met with the followers, he was full of wisdom and knowledge. And when he visited the synagogue, he was so strong and so bold that even the teachers could not prove him wrong on anything. So now they are very worried, they're very threatened by Saul, and they decide that he needs to be arrested and he needs to be killed. And so they stationed at every single one of the 7 gates into Damascus guards so that Saul would not be able to leave Damascus without being caught and arrested. Saul heard about the plans that the Jews in Damascus had to kill him, and he knew there was no way out of Damascus except through one of the 7 gates. But in the wall around Damascus, there was a building that had some windows, and the Christians took Saul up, put him in a basket. And while the guards were all at watch inside the gates, they lowered Paul down outside the city walls so that he could escape and be safe. Now I wonder where Saul is going to go. Saul wanted to go back to Jerusalem, but there's a couple problems. Number one, when he left, he had orders and permission from the Sanhedrin, from the high priest, to go seek and find Christians and to bring them back to be prisoners. Well, he's coming back empty-handed. And not only does he not have any Christian prisoners, now he is a Christian. He knew the apostles were here, but it's been 3 years since he left. And when the apostles heard that Saul was back in town, they did not trust him, because they also knew when he left he was out to kill people just like them. But there was a man by the name of Barnabas, who you met some time ago, who was part of the Christian Jews. He had a very kind heart, and he befriended Saul. And when Barnabas took Saul to the apostles, he told them the whole story about Damascus, about his change of heart, about his study, about his love for Jesus, and his desire to be an apostle. And they accepted him. But the Jews did not accept him, and they were out to get him also. So one day, when Saul was at the temple praying, the Lord spoke to him, and he said, "Get out of Jerusalem. You're not safe here." When the apostles heard that Saul's life was in danger and that the Lord had told him to leave, the apostles accompanied him to Caesarea, and there they put him on a ship that was headed toward Tarsus, the city where Saul was born. Now I wonder when Saul was on his way back to Jerusalem after those 3 years, I wonder how he felt when he came to the part of the road where Christ had blinded him with a light. And I wonder, whatever happened to the people, the friends that went with Saul those years ago to Damascus to arrest and kill the Christians? I wonder if they became followers. I wonder if they deserted Saul. And always and most of all, I wonder what you wonder. Until next week, take care.